My name is Kate Story. I'm an award-winning theater artist and writer.
I'm Newman-Stille. I teach at Trent University as well as finishing my PhD there. I'm a 7-time Aurora Award-winning editor. I run a website called Speculating Canada that looks into Canadian science fiction, fantasy, horror, and all those little genres in between.
And the two of us are extremely excited to be working together, co-editing a new anthology, We Shall Be Monsters.
Igor!
The Switch! "2018 will be the 200th anniversary of the publication of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I do the math and I say, what more exciting time to come out with an anthology that sparks from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein than 200 years?
Mary Shelley had a huge impact on women's writing. She was the daughter of the absolutely brilliant Mary Wollstonecraft, who sort of created feminist writing and has been a foundational figure for many of our feminist texts.
Now, of course, Wollstonecraft died while giving birth to Mary, something Mary would have grown up knowing about, and possibly it would have influenced her. I don't think it's much of a stretch. It would have influenced.
Frankenstein is a text that has a lot of potential to talk about things like gender, because of course, whose parts made up the monster?
What kind of performance goes into your gender? As a queer person who is constantly performing gender on one level or another, I feel a lot of affinity to the monster.
Especially the role of the outsider looking in, observing humanity, and questioning things like norms in our society.
2018 is the 200th anniversary of the publication of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I think many people know was published when she was only 19 years old. And what better time to produce an anthology celebrating, inspired by, and interrogating that seminal work.
It's pretty amazing that we're coming up to this important anniversary because Frankenstein was sort of a genre changer. It changed the way that science fiction was kind of shaping up. It changed the way that we look at horror, and it really shaped women's writing as well in a different direction than it had been before.
And Derek and I are thinking that this anthology, which is called We Shall Be Monsters, is open to any kind of inspiration and interpretation, sparking from the Frankenstein myth, if you will.
We're really hoping to get a variety of different authors who are taking different takes on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, including people looking at aspects of disability, aspects of fantasy in the story, Mary Shelley's life, ideas of colonialism, ideas of race, ideas of sexuality, gender. There's a lot in the original text that allows for a lot of expansion and for a sort of shaping of the genre. So
we want to hear from you.
Yeah. Even though we've talked a lot about how Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and different adaptations can take us into really interesting questions and thoughts, especially around outsider figures and ideas of exclusion, there's a lot in here that's also just great in terms of fun. This is a text that can explore science fiction, can explore horror, and we've got a potential here for a lot of play.
Absolutely. And in fact, we've already seen that. If you look at the legacy of Frankenstein and how many things have been spawned from that story. I mean, you have every kind of genre. People have been inspired by the story, have done ironic takes on it and complete jokes, and also taken it very seriously. I have a lot of interest in so many of the themes. Thinking about Mary Shelley as a young woman, producing work at that time. Interesting. The fact that she set the story to begin with in the North, with both the monster and Dr. Frankenstein on this sort of mission to the North Pole, and they encounter another explorer. He encounters another explorer, the Doctor does. So there's a link there, for me, to colonialism, both the science and this idea to master this uninhabited, apparently, landscape. I think that I'd really love to see stories about that. I'm also, of course, fascinated by Mary Shelley as a female figure, being a former young woman. And I'm fascinated by where that story came from inside of her, and that's something a lot of people have speculated about.
I'm really interested especially in the disability potential for the reading of the monster, particularly as a disabled person, because we have here that idea of medical intervention, medical control, the idea of the cure, the fact that there is a supposition here that medical science can cure everything, including death. But of course, Mary Shelley is never someone for giving easy answers either, so this is a complicated idea. She really complicates ideas of medical science. I'm also really interested. We are extremely excited to be publishing through Renaissance Book Press. They have an incredible background in publishing works by authors from underrepresented groups, particularly people with disabilities and people who identify as queer. And that's sort of what we're hoping for this anthology, that it will be a diverse anthology, especially since Frankenstein created a monster out of diverse parts. And we think that's important for this collection of new fiction about Frankenstein.
Thank you in advance for taking part in this Kickstarter campaign for this exciting new project.
Much like the monster itself, which is made up of a whole bunch of little parts, an assemblage of little parts that come together, we hope that you as a community can come together to help us to work on this project and to be able to fund the project. We're really hoping to get enough money to support our authors, because both of us think that authors do an incredible amount of work for our society and need to be rewarded in some way for doing that.
Absolutely. And you can check out our rewards for the Kickstarter participation on our Kickstarter website.
We'll have updates as we go and keep you informed of everything that's going on with the project, and hopefully add in a little bit of extras about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and about our collection as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. He did the mash!
He did the monster mash!
The monster mash!
It was a graveyard smash!
He did the mash! He did the mash!